Hi everyone, I'm Josh.
And I'm Jim, and this is the Dapper Meeple.
This show is about our love of gaming, the games we play, and the gaming community around this passion.
So pull up a chair, put on your Dapper Meeple hat, and join us at the table. Hey kids, remember, this is an adult podcast and may contain adult language.
Also, Dapper Meeple hat not required. Hey all, we're coming to you today with an OG geek. He has been a force for good in the local gaming environment for over a decade.
He began his road into geekdom with a love of comics, but branched out into games, movies, and just spreading what he knows in one of our friendly local game stores, as well as on his YouTube channel and with a couple of podcasts.
So sit back and enjoy our conversation with the frosty bearded Blerdicorn himself, Montel Thompson, also known as Navy Montel.
Stay nerdy, stay geeky, stay sexy. All right, guys, here we go. Back again for another episode. We have another guest with us, being in the Tidewater, Norfolk, Virginia Beach area. When it comes to your friendly local game store, this person has been kind of a fixture in it since I got here, as long as I can remember. It's been a while. I know that when I go to my favorite store, half the time he's already there. We were talking, 6-7 months ago, and found out that you were running a podcast of your own, and we definitely started with this, hey, we need to sit down and talk and do a thing. So that's what started it, and if you've listened to this show for any amount of time, you realize that our planning process takes time, mostly because of the ADHD. But we finally got it done, and here with us today is Montel.
How you doing? Good to see you guys.
So I guess where we normally start with our guests is we talk about where you came from and how you got into this. The nerd sphere is huge, and there are many roads. So which one brought you here?
Wow. Side streets for me was, I was raised as a comic nerd.
Okay.
So I got into comics when I was 9. My uncle, he started the whole cannonball rolling. He always made a deal with me that if I got good grades, he'd take me to the local comic store. So I would go, and you just see, even now I can still squeal like that. I walk in the door, and the proprietor behind the counter, oh, it's you again. How you doing, squealer? So, and then just carried from there. Got into gaming, mostly D&D when I was in high school.
Okay. Yep.
That was interesting.
So, are we talking AD&D?
Yeah. I mean, that's what they were like. This is this. What's this? It's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, okay. You want to make a character? Sure. What do you want to make? A hero? We got you. Don't worry about it. We got you.
Right.
And just my whole journey just opened up from there, especially when I came into the Navy and going to different places and being exposed to different things.
Yes.
It's like each section was at a different facet of my life. Comics were my biggest creative source to be who I am. So, and then when I got into gaming later, that's when I realized, I could be even more. So I was doing that, and then here I am, 53 years old, still broken.
Yeah.
I mean, I joke about it. Don't get me wrong. I joke and kid about it all the time, but I'm glad to be there because there aren't many men and women my age who are gamers and will admit to it. They want you have to be a responsible adult. I can be responsible and still roll this nat 20. How about that?
Yeah, and I think that's something that in this younger generation that's even past mine, I think that's coming around more.
Mm-hmm.
You talk D&D. We've said it for a while here. I think Critical Role may be the single biggest thing that has influenced where everybody looks at it now. It's like, oh, these are normal people? Because there was the stigma from our generation.
Oh, gosh.
Right? See, somebody else that remembers the Satanic Panic.
Yeah. I was like, if you play that game, you are a devil worshiper. Wait, what? I come to church with you, Chad.
Yeah.
How am I worshiping? You're an idiot, okay? Your mom didn't give you love when you were young, did she?
It was such a big deal then, though. Like, it was, serious. And now, we laugh about it now. And, I mean, there's been people we've talked to, and they're like, what happened? Like, they don't believe it. They're like, no, that's crazy.
It got so bad. There was I don't know if you guys remember, I was younger. I was a PK. If you don't know what that is, I was a preacher's kid.
Right. Yep.
So I had friends. One of my best friends, I would go over to his house, and his dad was big on getting religious comic books. So he would always think these from Chick Publications used to come up with these track books, but they also came up with larger comics.
Okay,
that's where the track comes from that I had. Anyway, keep going.
So see, he understands. So they had these series of comics that would come out, and they were talking about. They would try to put history and religion and everything else, and of course, they had one that was that talked about D&D, and it was called I believe it was Possessed. And they made it look so dark and so cruel. And
right.
I was like, what is this? Did y'all not get love as a kid? I'm reading this thing and they're just getting deep into it. I was like, that's not how it is.
So I used to have a copy of the track they came out with that was talking about D&D that had the girl in it. Like something happened, her character died or something like that, and then they were like, "Oh no, now you got to do this ritual or something like that." Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was like this whole like, it wasn't that big, but it was one. It was a little booklet.
Yeah, they were
like,
they were about 6 inches long.
Yeah,
and about
note card size.
Wide.
Yep.
And they were simple. You had a black border with the name, and you had the picture of a graphic on the inside, and they made them so dark.
Yeah,
For someone trying to bring you to the Lord, they made them dark.
Yeah. I used that. I can't believe I lost it, but I don't remember where I picked it up from. So I come from I went to private school, Christian school, all the way through 12th grade. I actually went to kind of a Bible college. I have a bachelor's degree in Christian studies.
Okay.
So we were exposed to all of that kind of stuff. And I think it might have been one of my professors that I got that from. It was right when I was like getting into gaming, and he was like, you got to see this. It wasn't like you need to read this so you don't go to hell. It was more look at this really funny thing that I found. But I ended up losing it in one of my many moves up to this point. But yeah, I still remember that thing, and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Oh my gosh. That's ugh. As soon as you brought that up, the only thing I could think of was, why did I have this flashback?
Hey, I'm glad I could help.
No. I went to a Christian camp. I was the only black kid there. Do you know how hilarious that was?
I can imagine.
Someone actually walked up to me and rubbed my skin to see if my color was real.
Like if you were just dirty or something?
Yeah. Oh, this is like, I was like, yeah, hi.
Damn
and he ran away from me. It's like, it's real.
Damn white people. Like, yeah. This is
like,
the kind of stuff that I'm just like, y'all make the rest of us look bad, right?
Gosh. I went home and said, Mama, someone rubbed my skin and said it was real. She laughed so hard. She said, well, baby, it's real. I gave it to you.
Right? Like, our parents were pretty religious. We were independent Baptists.
And I was Bros Baptist, so, I had that. I was deep in that. On my mom's side. My dad was like, live life, willy-nilly. Woo! I said, that's why I love you.
Yeah, right. I actually got into more like the D&D side when I joined the Navy. Just, the people I was hanging out with, they were like, hey, we're playing D&D. And I came in under AD&D for about a year before 3rd edition came out.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I joined in 98. So it was like right before 2000 is when I kind of got into it. And yeah,
wow,
mine's all been the RP side, like the RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
And then Josh did board games in college. And then as we got older, we were able to kind of hang out again. We've kind of both been able to mix this back together and play a little bit of everything.
Thing. It's always about community and family with that, with gaming, no matter what it is. And like you said, I've been in Atlantis for 14 years.
I know at least that, because
this December will make 14 years. Because
I've been in Tidewater for 12. So
and every time he comes in, oh, there he is. They won't let me go.
I mean, Atlantis has been my go-to store. Like when I first started getting back into gaming, because I know I missed 4th edition completely for D&D, and I started getting back into it, and then 5th dropped, and I was like, oh, this is a whole lot easier to understand. This makes more sense. And the girl I was with at the time, I was like, I think I want to get back in and play. So I have started having. Matter of fact, I brought a huge 3.5 collection because they were like, hey, we can do store trade or like store credit and trade them in. And I was like, that sounds like a great start. And I mean, it was a box. I mean,
3.5 is still the most popular format out of all of them because that's how a lot of people got into it.
Yeah.
So, anyone who has 3.5, definitely. I still have the original Dungeon Master's Guide from actually 1.0.
Oh.
I have it on my shelf at home. I came across it somehow. I was like, oh, you're not going anywhere. I don't have a girlfriend, but I got you. Okay? So my gaming journey was, I jumped off on different things at different times. Like I got into trading card gaming when I went to 2004. 2004, we went to the Gulf, went to a mall in Dubai, and bought my first Yu-Gi-Oh deck.
Okay.
Cards were fake. I didn't care. I didn't know what this was.
I was getting ready to say, were they real Yu-Gi-Oh?
They weren't real. They were sus. I'm paying $1 for a deck and 50 cents for a pack. And me and my buddy were like, we're gonna learn this, and went back to the ship. We didn't know what we were doing. We still had a blast though.
Yeah.
And it just went from there. And then once I got to Atlantis in 2008, everything just super accelerated.
I was gonna say, like, you've been there 14 years. Like, I mean, at this point, you've kind of got the ins and outs of the store down, right? Like,
I know a few things.
I was gonna say,
I know a few things. I got a few tricks up my sleeve. I know a few things. But it's been a blessing being there, though. I've enjoyed so many people, meeting you guys and everyone else along the way. Has been a major blessing. Actually, helping people and introducing them into the gaming world has been a joy.
Yeah. I'm sure you know Preston too.
Toki's my tag partner. That man and I. Oh, bless his heart.
He's been here. He's been on the show for us and came and talked wargaming and a little bit of Warhammer, a little bit of like some of the other stuff that's out there. But that was one of his big things too. He's like, what I really love about my job is people come and ask me, how do I do this?
Yeah.
And he gets a chance to kind of step in there and be like, oh, here we go. Because I think like I said, we all approach this from different walks of life, and we have different avenues that we show up. But to have people now that are just willing to openly sit down and talk with you about it, it's like crazy. Like I joke all the time, like I'm pretty open about, the podcast and what we do and stuff. And I've got people that I run games for at work.
Right.
And they'll come talk to me about it, and stuff. And they'll be like, that was a really good game we played Saturday. And I love this and blah, blah, blah. And, the game talk that happens, like, oh, when your character did this thing, that was awesome. Right. And there'll be other people listening. And then like, it never fails. Like later on that week, I'll have somebody come over and be like, hey man, I heard you know how to play the D&Ds. What's up?
The D&D. Like it's a secret code.
Still, I was like, hey, you don't have to. We're past that.
You like paladins. I heard you. It's like a secret phrase. I like paladins. Roll 20. Come on, you can play.
Yeah, right. I've had a couple of them. I was like, all right, I'll start another game once I'm done with this one. But yeah, I mean, it's still to have people, and like we talked about too, like that stigma's kind of going away. Like there's more and more people that are like,
it's becoming more organic as far as people getting into it, because before it turned into it was a status.
Yeah.
Because popular people were getting into comics and anime and gaming, and they're thinking, well, if they like it, then I'll like it because they like it. Why are you being a lemming?
Yeah.
Figure it out on your own, because you may not like it, and then you're going to have a bad impression of it, and every time someone brings it up, you're going to talk down about it.
Yeah.
We all
doesn't
dealt
help
with
us.
that before.
Yeah. We looked at even like Marvel and stuff. I mean, especially coming in as a comic book nerd to begin with, like, how do you deal with that?
Oh my gosh. The funniest things I get a kick out of are people who come in with the cinematic universe knowledge.
Yeah.
And then they come and talk to me about something, and I look at them and go, that's not how that works. That's not how that works. That's not how any of this works. Okay. I want you to do, and I will sit down, I will talk to them, I'll pull trade paperbacks off the shelf for graphic novels and say, this is what really happened. But because you guys have ADHD, they truncated it because y'all aren't going to sit in your chairs for very long to read.
They know they only got 2 hours to get through this story.
Thank you.
This story took us like 6 months, all right?
Like we got 2.5 hours. Shut up.
The Death of Superman was a series.
Yes.
There was no quick stuff. Like even the Infinity Gauntlet saga was how many different books?
That was at least 6 different books. The final was a 12-issue run, and it's still a lot of stuff that wasn't even exposed.
Oh yeah.
They just, okay, You're literally playing chess with a story that's as old as time.
Yeah.
But you want to introduce to a new audience, but you're now creating monsters.
Yeah.
I've seen all the movies. I know what's going to happen. You don't know jack. Shut up and eat your granola, okay? Just shut up. So
But-
that's always fun.
I did comics, but I kind of was on my own doing comics. So, like, I ended up with some weird ones. Like, yeah. Like, my favorite comic that I think it got discontinued, and I want to say it was Dark Horse, was Wetworks.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So, yes.
That was Image. Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
It was Image. Oh my gosh.
They were like a special forces team in this lab, like blowing it up, and they got covered in this golden symbionite thing. And so now they're superheroes. But
It's the craziest thing. Image was just throwing them out there, boy.
Right?
They worked.
it was like Netflix 5 years ago. Let's throw it at the wall and see what sticks. Same thing. Same thing.
Here's a movie called Mashed Potatoes. No. Okay.
So what's your stick now? Like, do you have something particular? Are you still D&D? Are you? Is that still home?
D&D is basically, if I look at it from the perspective of turning it into a city,
Right.
D&D is the capital.
Okay.
Comics is the most prominent neighborhood. You know,
Yeah,
they have their own places, and then we go into card gaming and board gaming, and then I would say conventions.
Okay.
Definitely go into that because conventions. Whoever created conventions, I would kiss you, but I'm not going to. Conventions are everything, and then it just took off from there, and just meeting different people.
Yeah.
And they're saying something, and it's introducing me. Just like I know people like like yourself who play Warhammer. I may never play, but it is fascinating to watch. I'm a HeroClix guy to my core.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
I fell down that rabbit hole for a while.
See, funny story. I haven't actually played Warhammer yet. I just have painted a lot of them.
Oh, so half the addiction? Okay, you'll be there soon enough.
Right?
You had Tokyo on here. You'll be here soon enough.
I started doing the kill team, which is like the small tactical, and I think that kind of, I like the cool, like it's cool to see all this big army, but from what I've done, I can be like, I can do the math in my head, and I'm like, wow, that's 4 years of my life to paint all that. I'm not gonna make that.
Only 4 years? That's a bargain.
Right? I need 10 figures that I'm gonna paint to go play with.
Oh gosh.
So we'll see how it goes after this.
Well, let me know how it goes, because I've had people try to get me to play like,
We actually went over to Preston's, and me and Marie did a learn to play session with it. So we've done that a couple times, but you can see that we still have.
Yes.
There's.
I see your Space Marines over there.
Plenty of unpainted. Well, I got those my orcs, because I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Oh.
I'm pretty sure I'm going orc or Sisters of Battle. That seem to be the two that I like.
Jeez.
And the girlfriend likes hers are the Plague Marines in the back, because she likes like Halloween and.
You got a good one, sir.
Yeah, zombies and anything that's dripping stuff is apparently that's right down her alley. So yeah, that, or I think she just likes the Eldari because they're just horribly evil. So that's her next army.
Oh gosh. I can't even with that.
We've just done it right now, like for the painting and the lore. Like I loved reading the books.
Mm-hmm.
They started me in the Horus Heresy. Which,
that thing is so massive.
Oh my God.
So much to that.
It's something like what is it? Something like 68 books or something now, and counting. Yeah. Fun story. All of those are 10,000 years before the actual game starts. So, yeah. But I love the fact that there are no good guys, so you don't ever have to feel bad about picking a faction, really.
So you got Warhammer 40K and it started at Warhammer 4.
Yeah. And it's just. But that's been our draw here for a little while. And when I have time, we'll get them all painted. But eventually. Until then, I take one win at a time.
Hey, that's fair.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
We got together and we were BSing. I was like, "Hey, by the way, we're doing this podcast," and you were like, "Oh yeah, I do one of those too." And I was like, "I should figure that out." So
not that obvious. No.
So what made you decide to go from the leap from fan? Super fan podcaster?
Believe it or not, I'm a YouTuber first.
Okay.
I've had a YouTube channel since 2013.
Okay.
And my very first video was me walking through the store, introducing myself. Hi, my name is Montel, and I look at it now and I cringe. I'm like, ugh. You know how to talk. Why are you talking like a high schooler? Oh my gosh. I would smack you now if I could. And cell phones were like, hey, how you doing? And I started the YouTube channel the same reason why I started the podcast, because we have nerds all over the world.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like blurs, as I like to be a part of, blurs, black nerds, get the shine that they deserve and aren't not much of a voice out here in this massive wilderness of geekdom.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't realize that if you can get what it means to be a nerd and a geek from a black person's perspective or a person of color, that's a whole nother story.
Mm-hmm.
Because the upbringing is not the same.
No.
I was raised, I was raised in the city. My mom raising me and my sisters by herself. So comics was my refuge.
Right.
And being good in school and being able to enjoy reading and everything else, that was everything for me. So when I got older and realized, oh my gosh, I can be this. Mind you, the word and the phrase wasn't invented until later.
Mm-hmm.
Scrubs, apparently. So, and when that phrase got coined, the term got coined, I said, that's me. And I just wanted to put an older Blur's perspective out there, because let's face it, you got a lot of young kids out there. It's like, dude, welcome to TikTok.
Right.
I'm on Facebook. Ha ha. Let me tell you about. Shut up. You're already making me sick just by your introduction. And I usually don't see anything from a nerd's perspective, anyone over 30.
Yeah.
Or over 40.
I was going to say, I feel like I'm pushing the very top end of what we see a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's needed.
Yeah.
It's needed because you have young people that say, well, I'm into this. But let's hear from those who've been in it longer and have more in-depth stories to tell.
Yeah.
With a little more history. And I decided that, my partner, Miss Angie, we were talking, we've been friends for a while, and she came with the idea of doing a podcast. I said, oh yeah, I'm down for it. Let's go.
Right.
Because I wanted someone to be a partner. And we started Blerdicorn Speaks, and we're across all platforms, and it's been really fun.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it. We've had guests on. We're going to get more guests on. We just started season 5. That is a blessing in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So then you shift over to now being a YouTuber. Now I'm a podcaster. This is scary. And now I'm on Instagram, and I know the podcast world can't see this, but I've got my logo. I have a show that I have on my Instagram called Blerdicorn Combos.
Yes. I've seen that. Yes.
It's one of my passions. It's one of my babies. To be able to talk to other content creators from all walks of life about everything that they do. If you're a gamer, you're a cosplayer, you're a musician, you're an artist, you're a writer, and be able to talk and be able to get that perspective, because there are people out there, as I say, there are blurs in the dark who need to come to the light.
Yeah.
And they're not sure if because of this that they're able to enjoy playing Dungeons and Dragons and being socially accepted. And I was like, I wasn't. I'm doing it. Sometimes you just don't worry about what other people say.
Yeah.
Here's an example. Here's a cosplayer. And that's been a blessing in itself, because people have been coming out of their skin, coming out of their shadows, going to conventions, getting their first cosplay, playing Dungeons and Dragons. It's been wonderful.
Yeah. See, that's when we first started this, one of the things that we talked about is like, hey, we are 2 cis straight white guys. We are definitely not going to have all the answers. I mean, we try to keep the show kind of fun anyway. Like, this is our opinion. We're very clear that this is our opinion, and if we're wrong or if we're missing something, if there's a nuance that we don't understand, because we
haven't experienced it.
Yeah, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So I get that. I think in my head, I like to see, the bend of time kind of go towards, the positive. But I even know, we still see stuff out there now where
there are idiots out there.
Yeah. That, you get people that are gatekeeping stuff. But I mean, like in 2022, like, I feel like the race side of it should be settled already. We're done with that. And it's not, I know. I say it in my head. And
so y'all can't see the look on my face that I had. He saw it, and he is like,
and it's fair. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, wow, like, just what the hell's wrong with you people? Like, I've known you for what, 12 years?
Yeah, at
like,
least.
like Montel has been like the staple of like my game store addiction, for a long time. He has happily been ringing up anything I wanted.
I have been to blame for his addiction. Yes, it's been me.
But it just never even crossed my mind,
And usually we don't, because in our realms we're gamers.
Yeah,
we're a little more accepting. If someone wants to say, "Hey, I want to learn to play Dungeons and Dragons," it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what you wear. As long as you come in with a genuine desire and you respect the people around you.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the key thing that I ran into as a young adult.
Mm-hmm.
Because, heaven forbid, like I'm sorry, when I hear someone say sis, that makes me giggle. They're like, yo, wow, we're just coming to all types of stuff. But I know what it means. And, say cis white males talking about Dungeons and Dragons, and I jump into the conversation, I'll get that initial look, and I'll say, what? Like I've never rolled a D20 initiative before. Like I've never had to, roll to see if how much damage I've done from my weapon. Can we do this? It's a battle hammer. It's silvered. You're a vampire. You're gonna die. So we're gonna continue this conversation. No, I was just gonna say what your name was. No, you weren't. You know my name, you idiot.
Yeah.
So, and it goes from there. But then it also means, unfortunately, because I am of color, I've been put more in a position to have to prove myself, improve my knowledge. Just like female gamers.
Yep.
It's the same thing. I'm sorry if y'all have been predominant in this, but guess what? You're not by yourself.
Right. Yep.
Toki. Toki is Native American.
Yes.
That's my tag partner. When we worked in the store, oh my gosh, the whole chemistry would change, because he and I, we had this amazing connection, and I miss him working there, because they used to call us the old men, because whenever he come to the store, he's working together, we would all start talking like this to all of our customers. Hey, old man, can you get me that? Give me a second, let me get my walker. And it would go back and forth. People would just laugh and get a kick out of it. But that was where it was important to create an air of comfort and welcoming to anyone who comes in, especially people coming in for the first time.
Oh yeah. And I will tell you that I know, and I've had people who have talked to me in my circle. There are several local game stores and we have visited pretty much all of them. Atlantis always is the one that people talk to me about. Like, yeah, I feel comfortable going in there. Like, there's a couple around here. Like, even like the girlfriend has told me, she's like, if you weren't with me, would not be going in that store.
Wow.
Just because she doesn't feel comfortable. Like, if I was by myself, because she had one, she was picking up some paints. It was over on Hampton side, so it's nowhere around here. She was picking up paints for her Warhammer army.
Right.
And she was checking out, and the guy was like, oh, did he send you with a list? And
holy cow.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So that stuff still goes on.
Yeah, unfortunately, you got idiots out here that don't quite understand that just because you may have, someone of your racial background may have created it, doesn't mean you're the expert.
Yeah, right?
I mean, good grief. Some of the best DMs I've come across are people of color. Not saying that they don't, but it's
yeah.
See?
Yeah. Dude, I love watching B. Dave Walters when he does the vampire one they were running. It was good. It was so good. Like, there's just good storytellers come from anywhere, and having that, like I said, our stories are going to be limited. Bring more people in to tell the other side of the story.
Make it more diverse.
Yeah.
Give it a little bit more depth to it. Someone's gonna come up. I bet you anything, someone will come into it with a background and a story that no one would have thought of.
Yeah.
That aha moment that you had when someone says to me, go, oh, wow, I didn't think of that. I totally didn't think of that. I'm buying you a drink after we're done. I like that. Meanwhile, y'all getting drunk in the bar. Yeah, then the paladin just lifted the mountain. I didn't see it coming.
I'm so upset that it's taken us this long to get one, gaming cafe in this area. Oh my God. Long-term plans is we were putting together a game store, probably by the same name, the Dapper Meeple. But the next step is the gaming bar, the Drunken Meeple, and it's going to be fantastic.
Oh, I'll be there. I'll be there.
There's something that happens, and I think, especially if you're talking tabletop RPGs and stuff, you guys are telling a story, and it's a shared story where it may not be real, but neither was the shit Tolkien did.
Thank you.
None of this. We're just telling a story with more than one author.
Precisely.
And you relive those stories with people. Like, I mean, when I sit down with friends of mine that I've been around the table with for years, like, we have those stories. Like, remember that last character you played and you did that thing and almost killed us all? That was great. You know? Because there's still there's still core memories that you hold on to.
Absolutely.
So I still hate that we still had to fight this. But, you know, I mean, I think Atlantis, if you're in the Hampton area and you are nervous and you're like, hey, I'd like to check this out, Atlantis is a fantastic first stop for anybody that's interested in card games, Warhammer, board games, TTRPGs. You guys run events there.
Yes.
Which I think is huge for the local game store to do. Like,
indeed.
Yeah, building that community.
We still see people not realizing that we're there because they're so used to buying stuff online and playing at their kitchen table.
Yeah.
And while I support playing at the kitchen table, you got to get out of the house.
Yes. You
can be safe. You can get out of the house, put on a mask, grab your snacks, get a backpack. Come on. Don't be weird. If you're going to be weird, be nice.
Yeah. Right?
Because if you see me and you're being weird, I'm going to pile drive you.
We've had this discussion. Because the nerd community, we all know, has somewhat of a reputation. Dude. When it comes to being social.
Oh my gosh. And I've seen it so over these years. God bless America. What in the Barnes & Noble's wrong with these people? I mean, last night, classic example. Last night, I run the Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament. You know, you guys are familiar. I run the Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm the head of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community at Atlantis in the Norfolk side. Portsmouth, they got their thing. And last night, we don't get many female duelists. So we had one last night. We have a normal one, but she was out of the country. So she came in and
maybe
I make anyone feel welcome. How you doing? Welcome. All right, it's your first time? Okay, so make sure you sound in, make sure you pay. And if you need anything, let me know. No problem. After that, done. You are a duelist. I don't care your racial makeup, your sexual makeup, any of that. You're a duelist. I'm going to treat you like everyone else. So if you get out of hand, you get as big a pile driver as these other idiots out here.
Everybody's equal.
So I have one duelist, and I will not call him out because he and I had a conversation afterwards. Every time he was at the table near her, he would stare.
Yeah.
I'm looking, I'm going, this is not cool. So after one round ended, I pull him over and says, what are you doing? What? I said, you're not worried about your gaming. You're focused on her. Well, what are you talking about? I said, stare at her one more again. I'm going to take a D20 and I'm shoving it up your nose. And I showed him the D20.
Just so you know, I'm ready.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't D20, it was a spin down counter. The big one.
Yeah.
It was a big spin down counter for Magic. And he was like, oh, I said, you think I'm kidding? No, I got you. After that, he had to worry about that anymore. I don't tolerate that disrespect.
Yeah. And I think some of it comes from a place of ignorance. And some of it just comes from, like, we really, like we talked about, like, when we have our game store, we may have a monthly, like, social interaction so we can practice this. Mm-hmm. But being in the Navy when I was, I made chief. And how many kids come in the Navy and you're like, come here, were you homeschooled? Because you'll have these kids who used to walk down the hallway, and as you walk towards them, they like start looking at the ground and then looking away from you. And you're like, hey, good morning. And they're like, no, stop. You're a human being. You're going to have to participate with the rest of us. Come here. I mean you well, kid. This will be good for you to learn later.
Oh, my gosh.
But the nerd community has that same stigma, and there's a reason.
Well, I mean, we talk about it all the time with conventions, because, I mean, that's when you see the largest gathering of this group.
Yeah.
And you can always tell, like, there are some of us in our community that are struggling with social interaction.
True.
We just either don't understand it or haven't participated enough to really get a hang of it. And I mean, that is what it is. And I think having a space like a game store where you can have somebody like yourself be like, hey man, come on, like this is how we interact with society. This is normal. Like, this is what you need to do. I think part of that really helps out, creating that community in the game store.
Yeah.
Like having the players who have, been around, who have these perspectives, who have experience, not only obviously in social situations, but just in general. I think that goes a long way, especially for either newer people or people who are maybe uncomfortable just being in a group of people. Yeah. I mean, we're coming out of a pandemic where everybody was staying at home, so that didn't help any situations. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh.
So I think... just having somebody there to be able to step in and go, hey, just come here, let's talk real quick. I mean, and when you do it in a way that is, not condescending or anything like that, more of still trying to lift them up in a way, I think that goes a long way. That's what makes a good store, I think.
I agree. I totally agree.
So what do you think? So you're starting season 5.
Mm-hmm.
What has been your biggest wow moment podcasting?
Wow. I think for me the biggest wow moment in podcasting is the realization that I'm actually doing it.
Yeah.
That's because you always talk, you have plans. I want to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And one day it actually hit me. This was last year, and we're recording, and I just stopped. And she looked at me and says, "You okay?" I said, Yeah, I'm good. I said, "I just realized I'm a podcaster now." Holy crap. I've been listening to podcasts for years, and now I'm one of them. And not just 1 or 2 episodes and I'm done. We're still going.
I was going to say, yeah.
We got active listeners. People enjoy what we're doing. And that was probably the one thing, is that I felt like I had actually just checked another box off the list of things I wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
YouTuber, done. Twitch streamer, done. Podcaster, done. Human being, I'm still waiting.
Work in progress.
Yeah. We'll just shade it in half.
There you go.
We'll half shade that in.
Yeah. We've been at this for about a year. I don't know. This is episode
depends.
23.
Do you include the planning phase? Because that was a year in itself.
It took some time to get around to some things, but you had to move up here, and then we had to get together because we tried. So when you guys record, you guys are different locations, right?
At first we weren't.
Okay.
At
first you were together.
Yeah. At first we were either going to my place or we're going to hers.
Okay.
And that was late 2019.
Yeah.
When we started, and then when COVID's bitch ass set in.
Oh my God.
I said what I said. Fight me. That's when we said, okay, we got to keep going. We got to be innovative. And it was still a transition. It was still a process because she is a single mom.
Okay.
And so she's got kids. And at the time, her youngest was very rambunctious, very outspoken. So she had to record at a time where the rambunctiousness and the outspokenness was in sleepy land.
Yeah.
So, and me, like I said, I'm single. I come up here with just a t-shirt on. We're sitting there going, "You ready to record? Come on, let's go. What you want to talk about? We got things." And then once COVID set in, we started doing via Zoom.
Okay, yeah.
Which has been a blessing in itself. And we just kept it right there for now until we actually do it in person again. Yeah, it's been almost 3 years.
Yeah.
For us. Holy cow. December will be 3 years we started the podcast. We've been doing the podcast. That's creepy. 3 years. People actually listen to us. Y'all ain't got lives?
What are y'all doing? And that's what. And I've listened to yours too. And you guys do a very organic type podcast as well. And which I really like. That's how kind of our goal. That's what we shoot for. And I like that. Like when I'm just driving down the road and I throw that on, like I get to be part of a conversation, right? Exactly. And I'm talking to you too. You guys don't respond to me though. But I'm like, I'm like, hell yeah. Like, oh, yeah.
I'll tell Angie, we get people that respond. You just can't hear them.
Yeah.
And she'll say, "I know. I just want to let them know I showed them love."
But yeah, it is. And it's a great conversation. And like the topics that you guys go into, again, one of the big reasons that I've really enjoyed listening is there have been points of view that you guys have talked about where I'm just like, yeah, I would have. That wasn't in my wheelhouse before, right? But you guys do kind of like the whole nerd spectrum too. Like
absolutely.
where we kind of stay pretty heavily into the gaming side of it.
There's so much more to it
there
that
is.
People don't talk about.
Yeah. Especially, in any media format. Like I think there's one of the big issues is, representation in media anyway, regardless of which, you're talking. Comics, movies, TV, music, all of it is so important. And now you guys are kind of like waving the flag over in this side going, yeah, us too. And this is where it goes.
Yeah. And there are other podcasters doing the same thing too. I have friends of mine that are doing their thing and we inspire each other.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's always a thing. Cause if it's a similar message and we just carry it along like the Underground Railroad, you talked about it. Now we're going to talk about it. Now you talk about it. Now you talk about it. And as the conversation gets moved along, something else is added to it. So the conversation gets bigger.
Right.
It becomes more diverse. It becomes more in depth and more important.
Right. Yeah, more people are talking about it, the more that's how you start movements, right?
Mhm.
That's how you get people to do things.
See, now I get to put him on the spot for a second.
Okay.
He put me on the spot. So you've been listening for a good while.
Mhm.
Was there a particular episode that resonated with you the most? You ain't got to give me title. But
No,
you can give me topic.
I'm trying to remember what it was. You guys were talking Batman. And I think it was an older show too. And I think it was Angie that had said something about it. And I'm trying to remember what it was now because I remember hearing her say it, and I was like, I have never looked at Batman in that light.
Yeah, I remember that episode. That was season 2.
Okay.
That was season 2.
Yeah, and it was just one of those because I mean, I've analyzed Batman a lot on my own because I like a lot of people like, hey, Batman's great. Let's remember that in that second movie, he was beating up the chick that wanted the flowers to grow. You know, wait, and the doctor who wanted to save his dying wife. And you're a trillionaire. You could fix a lot of the world's problems not by dressing up as a bat at night. But anyway,
however,
right. So yeah, it was just, but it was the way, and I really wish I could remember what the whole conversation was. But I remember it hit me, and it was just like I've never looked at it that way. Like I've never thought of Batman from that perspective. So yeah, I think that was one of my big ones where I was like, oh, this is why I'm listening to his podcast.
And we enjoy that. We always enjoy people learning something from us.
Yeah,
and you carry something away with it, and that's the mission. That's the goal with everyone, with every podcast. That sense of comfort and entertainment, but also learning something.
Right.
Even if you already know about the topic, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I've done this. You're going to find that little kernel that's uttered. And then you're going to have that aha moment like I did. Like I always do.
Yeah. Right. I get that a lot. Because I'm always like, even to something that I know, I'll go back and like, here's a beginner's guide to it. And I was like, let me read that again. Or let me hear that again. Because did I miss something? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've been told lately that I'm excitable.
Wow, the look on that side eye was there was lava coming out of that.
It's still
y'all.
a recent cut.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't see that, yo. I had to shield him over here. I don't know.
To be fair, if anybody's gonna go off the hinges in this group, it's me. Fair.
We've been warned.
Yeah. But I do the same thing. Like, when I'm consuming media, like I'm going to find something new, so I don't know. That's why I keep looking for new stuff.
And it's always going to be that constant pursuit. And sometimes when people are looking for something new, they're looking at what's ahead, but not realizing you can go back and discover something.
Right.
There's so much source material from comics that have been written, movies that have been made. You can even go to production, plays that have been told, gaming. How many systems were put out that aren't even put out now? Gamma World was one of my main exposures. I played Gamma World when I was in A school in the Navy.
Right.
Didn't even know what I was doing, but we had a blast nonetheless. We'd get out of our class and be like, "You playing?" "Yeah, I'm playing." And then we'd go right into the lounge and we would play. Not a single die was rolled, but we had an absolute blast.
Yeah, you kind of got into RPGs that way as well. You didn't really have the rules. I just left some stuff at the house.
Yeah, I had to make up my own game. It was great because I couldn't have Dungeons and Dragons books. So
we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah,
okay.
Me and my therapist, we already have. But no, seriously, he left a bag of dice one time, and it was full of stuff. I'm sure he didn't mean to. I took him to school, and I was like, all right, I know enough rules to be dangerous. So this is what we're going to do. And like, I drew like this hand-drawn little map, and I had stole pieces from another game to use as like little miniatures.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I mean, it was definitely D&D light for sure. But again, how I got away with it at my Christian school, I still don't know. But
the fact that you smuggled it in,
right,
in a Christian school, man, you are a serious spy. Okay?
Are you guys playing Dungeons and Dragons? No, this is Jesus and donkeys. Okay, good enough. Go ahead.
Look, he just did a miracle. All right, we're good.
Okay, Joshua's over by the manger, so what's going to happen? And we're going to pray. Okay, roll for prayer. Okay.
Now I want to make a one shot based off of the nativity scene.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I will contribute to that big time.
I was gonna say that's gonna be our live stream for Christmas this year, kids.
I'm already working on the 3D printed Mandalorian manger scene.
Ooh.
It's going to show up somewhere in the house.
Oh my gosh. Your purpose? Get to the manger. How you get there is totally up to you.
Oh, now I'm going to start writing it. That'll be as good as the Goblin game.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Absolutely.
The Goblin game?
So I ran, it was actually one of the first campaigns I ever ran. But we did it online with some friends of ours we met on Xbox.
Okay.
So we are playing on Roll20. We were playing in Ravnica.
Gotcha.
So we had a pretty long campaign. It was about a year and a half we were playing together. Everybody had their characters. But we got to a point where scheduling was almost impossible, like as happens with Dungeons & Dragons and most other RPGs. So we decided to make an offshoot game that happened in the same timeline, just with different characters. Mm-hmm. Everyone's character had to be a goblin. So, and the other rule was your name had to rhyme with goblin. So we had like Soblin, we had Jocelyn, we had Loblin, like this whole like slew of goblins, and they were
you
part.
I know the names are going in my head right about
now.
We went through them all.
100%.
Trust me.
Now try and come up with NPC names that weren't taken already, so that you could have, because they were all part of the East Side Goblins. It was like
a social society in Ravnica.
I love this.
It was all based off. My character was a goblin in his game, and he was part of the Izzet Guild, right? So he was a scientist. Well, he gave me an assistant, and I was like, "What's his name?" Boblin. Yeah. Boblin moved from getting me coffee to special operations rescue missions, like in the course. We would just keep sending Boblin on stuff.
Where is this promotion system at? I need this.
By the time we started the Goblin game, Boblin was like the leader of the East Side Goblins. So he was sending the party out on all these like specialized missions that would tie back into the main game.
Oh my gosh. So literally Utterland's name is like the Godfather in the Mafia.
Yeah. Because we were
Boblin
running...
wants you. I don't want to go.
Yeah, 100%. Because we were running like War of the Sparks story, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so this whole time there was like this subgroup of goblins like doing secret missions and all kinds of stuff. And the entire East Side Goblin, they were all goblins except one. There was a furbog. His name was Jeff. He was an honorary member who wore goblin ears at every meeting.
Unbelievable.
So we talked about taking this game and like setting it up to run at a con somewhere.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right? You just have like a list, like every character sheet's the name, right? Boblin, Soblin, Cloblin, like they just come in, pick their character, and if anybody gets to pick Jeff, they get to wear the ears for the whole time. It'll be great. But yeah.
I like this.
Yeah.
I really like this. Bravo to your estranged creativity, sir. Bravo.
See, this is what happens when you sit around tables long enough.
That's very true.
Yeah. So what's your going into season 5, are you guys doing anything different? Or are we
are looking to get more. We're actually going to invite more people on.
Okay.
So we're going to have more guests on. Again, it's always going to be a scheduling conflict.
Yeah.
Because now with me, I'm actually going to be doing more events because I'm affiliated with a group called the Audacious Black Femme. And what we do is we boost events around mostly around the East Coast. So we're just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna be busy. It's like every Friday I'm gonna be somewhere. But we got a mini con that we're putting on, and it's Potomac Farms.
Okay.
On the 20th, I will be, because Audacious Black Femme is a small group. I'm running media. Myself and Nick's from Do You Speak Geek. If you ever get a chance to chat with him, that's the man I definitely recommend chat with him. DoYouSpeakGeek.com. Awesome dude. So I'll be running media for a Wakanda ball. So I'm going to be dressed to the nines.
Cool. Nice.
I'm going to be dressed to the nines. So, what we want to do is we want to continue to add more to the podcast, still keeping the same formula that we've had,
right?
Because it works, and we're both in agreement that we don't want to change what works. We just want to be able to expand more and do more, and talk to more people and get more perspectives.
So is the group is it like a cosplay group, or is it?
It's more of a booster group.
Okay.
So if there's a smaller convention and we come in, we actually will splash their event all over social media. We'll come there. We'll hype it up. We'll help invite vendors. Nix and myself will do media. We'll do coverage.
Okay.
We'll do interviews and things like that. So trying to get these smaller events on the map more so.
Yeah.
So you never know, because another voice in the wilderness, it makes it that much louder to hear.
Right.
So and we're just starting out, but it's been going really, really well so far. We've had more people wanting to work with us.
Good.
So that's been wonderful.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. We've had a couple people that have reached out to us like, hey, I heard your podcast and I would like to come talk to you about our game or something like that. When you get that, like, the response back, like, because you put this out into the world and somebody else echoes it back and goes, yes, we like what you're doing. Like, oh shit, somebody was listening.
You saw me. You really saw
Exactly.
me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to have yogurt now.
Awesome. Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming by. I appreciate you sitting and like BSing with us for a while. Like, this is the kind of episode that we love to do every now and then, where we get somebody else in to tell us what we're missing, to talk to us about what else is out there and stuff. If people are looking for you, where can they find, let's start with the podcast.
Okay.
So Blerdicorn Speaks.
Blerdicorn Speaks. We're on Apple, we're on Google, Spotify, all of that.
Okay.
So that's the dream come true. We actually got a podcast that's across everything.
Right.
And that's where you can find us. You
Okay.
know, if anyone wants to reach out to us, maybe someone wants to be a guest on the podcast, we're more than welcome to bring people on.
Fantastic. And what about for you? If somebody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do it?
That's a list. Okay, here we go. Doggone it.
Well, you've been at this for a while. It happens.
Unfortunately, you're not wrong. I am on Instagram and Twitter under Navy Montel.
Okay.
That's been my main name for years. I'm on YouTube and on Twitch under Rogue Catnip.
Got
I'm
it.
that Rogue Catnip. Yeah, come on, baby. I'll make you feel better. I got that nickname in the Navy. That's another story.
I was getting ready to say, that feels like a sea story.
No comment. And I am one more. I swear I always forget the last one. And I'm also part of the new podcast, the Color Commentary Wrestling Podcast.
Okay, yeah, you were telling me about that
Yes.
one. Yeah.
So it's myself, Nix from Do You Speak Geek. We have Lucia, Nix's wife, Static Jones, and Slim Jones. All of us, we're all wrestling. We're wrestling fans of color.
Okay, yeah.
And we talk about POC perspective on pro wrestling and things like that. So we're about to actually going to record our third episode here real soon.
Nice.
And it's been a blast to be able to talk pro wrestling because I'm a wrestling fan.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Can't help it. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, please feel free by all means. And definitely my YouTube. My one video that I just did, it's over 8,000 views.
Was this the Wakanda one?
Yes.
The reaction? I saw it. I was one. I got a view in there.
And thank you. So I'm talking to you, so thank you so much for that. And I didn't expect it to take off like it did.
Yeah.
People want honest reactions. They don't want things that are on performance. And, I can sit there and do TikToks all day long, but that means nothing to me.
Right? That's what makes this good. I'm with you. Awesome. Hey, man, thanks for coming by. Guys, stick around. We are going to pull up a Know Your Character segment. So we're going to give you one more option for an NPC in your game. Montel, thanks again for coming in. And
I appreciate it.
You guys, stick around. And next up on the Dapper Meeple, Know Your Character. So this is probably one of the favorite things that I get to do in this podcast when we have a guest on. And for the most part, it's worked out because all of our guests have had a tie into the TTRPG community and have played characters and have something to bring to the table for this. And what we do is we're going to talk about one of your favorite characters or your first character or whatever you've bought us. Kind of get a sense what you intended for the character. And then we'll talk about how it may fit into another game.
Okay. My character, his name is J.E. McAllister. And what's funny is the very first campaign that I played him in, someone asked me, why did you name him J.E.? I said, well, it's simple. One of my favorite Western writers is William W. Johnstone.
Okay.
He created 2 series that I fell in love with. The first Mountain Man and Smoke Jensen, the last Mountain Man. And just reading up on all of these cantankerous old coots who were in the mountains that nobody messed with them. Nobody effed with them. They were just straight up badasses. They just want to be left alone. So we talk about one of the most well-known preacher, ironically. He called him preacher. Yeah. And the one that he helped raise was known as Kirby or Smoke Jensen, who became, in the books, the fastest gun around.
Okay.
So I named it that because I like that name. And I wanted to pick a character that was of color. I didn't want a drow.
Right.
I didn't want a drow elf. Let's face it. Everybody you say, oh, the character needs to be dark. It's got to be a drow. No. Drizzt is my boy now and forever, always. We're going to let him do his thing. Him and Guinevere can be fine. Go do whatever they got to do.
Right.
Leave Wolfgar and Caddy Bree where they need to be. Okay. And Brunor, well, he's Brunor. So I wanted to pick a character that was of color and still elven. So I picked a half elf.
Okay.
From an elf and from a black woman.
Okay, got it.
And he is, when he found out his lineage, he wasn't sure which direction he wanted to go because he was raised by his human mother.
Okay, yeah.
And anytime he was exposed to anywhere around, he always wore a bandana around his head, which covered the points of his ears. And one day he asked his mother where his ears came from, and he never really knew his lineage.
Right.
So he asked her, and when he found out, he said, so do you know my father? And she said, yeah, I know your dad.
Did she say it like that?
Yeah. She's like, yeah, I know your dad. Mm-hmm. Do I ever get to meet him? If you want to. He lives in town. Come to find out that his father was nobility in the town.
Got it.
And he lived, it's like you have the rich side of town and you have J.E. side of town.
Right,
and
right.
It's like 8 Mile. You got a dirt road right between the two of them. So you crossed over, you know where you're at. So he was introduced to him and he didn't even know he had a child.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I'm an elf, I do and I flitter about and do as I wish because I am an elf and I lie to you unless the truth can hurt you more. So he found out about his lineage and he saw something in J.E. and he said, I will take him off of your hands and I will raise him. She said, as long as I get to see him, no problem.
Right.
That didn't work out like that.
I was going to say, that didn't feel like...
That didn't work out like that at all. So his father took him in and he raised him to be this magnificent of nobility, dark skin, pointed ears. He was a star attraction. And he was raised to be better than most. And from the little kid's perspective, and when we see him now, he's a young adult by aging standards for elves.
Right.
But he still has a lot of human features. But he always wonders why he's up here and he can't be back down there anymore. And his father tried to tell him, no, we don't associate with them.
Right? We don't deal with those lowers.
But my mom is human.
Right.
I know, but that was a mishap one night, and and J.E. said, really? Okay. So how about this? How about I don't want crap to do with you, and I'm gonna go help them. So he departed from that house, and he stayed on the other side of the tracks. He lived amongst everyone else. He had his own money stashed away. He used the money to feed and clothe and do everything for everybody else. And his father's like, you come back here. And he's like, nah, fam, you did your part. Now I'm going to do mine. So when his mom died, his mother's last wish was, I want you to serve the people well. And I want you to defend them. So he went into studying to become a paladin. And he wanted to, and because he was half elf, he really didn't know where to go.
Sure, yeah.
So he found a human paladin that was a part of the city guard. And he said, I want to be a paladin, but I'm not sure how I can go about it. And, and the voice of the paladin that trained him, it reminds me of Decker Kane from Diablo.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we shall take you amongst us. But remember, you do what I say. and question nothing. Your faith in me will show if you are worthy to carry the mantle. He says, yes, sir. No, you call me sir. Always. Yes, sir. He raised him. He trained him. He became one of the best. Because and of course, ironically, the man that trained him, his name is Moradin.
Okay.
So if you know anything, yeah, you see the face, you understand. So it was ironic because I came up with this whole thing and said, I want to just throw stuff in when it comes to his lore. And someone said, wait a minute, isn't Moradin the god of the... I said, yeah.
Yeah.
But isn't he yeah, he is. So you're saying that Moradin found him worthy. He found him worthy, not because he was an elf or half elf, because he wanted to do. He had a heart purer than most.
Yeah.
So he took on a human form. And Jay didn't even know about the lore of the dwarves and Moradin or anything. So as far as he was concerned, here's a human paladin teaching him how to be who he is.
Right.
Thus becoming a paladin of Moradin without even realizing it.
That's fantastic. I can't tell you, as somebody who is a traditional dwarf player, like, I can't tell you how much I just love that anyway. So what system did you develop him in, or what is he playing in now?
It's a 5.
So he's 5e.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Setting. Or what setting did he start in?
Oh, you're going to love this. I'm going to give you a name.
Okay.
And when I tell you the name, you'll know the setting. Strahd von Zarovich.
Oh, yeah.
We took him to Ravenloft.
I was going to say, for those of you that are not sure, that's Ravenloft.
Where all good paladins get their start.
You know, that one setting in D&D where it's cut off from everybody else. It's just this own little bubble of horror.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it worked out so well because when we came up with it in the group that I was playing with, until, scheduling conflicts and people have gone away. So J.E. has become my marquee figure of grace and dignity and humbleness and respect, but also willing to help out those below him. And when you hear him speak, he sometimes comes across a bit haughty.
Right.
Until you get to know him and realize he's got a good heart. He's just shit at speaking to people.
He just sounds like he's going to be an ass.
You're going to be an asshole. No, I don't. What is an asshole? I don't know what you speak of. I have a poopy hole.
I love it. So what's he good at? Like, how did you do his stats?
I actually got his stats more for strength and charisma.
Okay, so pretty...
He's a strong guy, but he can talk to anyone.
Right.
He can have a conversation with anybody. It may start off a little rough.
Yeah.
But he's getting to know you, and as he gets to know you, he can actually talk to you and get to know anything about you.
Right.
And he's beast in a fight.
Okay. Yeah, so it's kind of an optimized paladin build.
Exactly.
Got it. Yeah. What's his weapon of choice?
Me weapons.
Okay, I'm good with that too.
He dual wields 2 silvered enchanted warhammers.
Which makes perfect sense, being a paladin of Moradin and also being in Ravenloft.
Mm-hmm. So his main weapon is called Preacher.
Okay.
And his other weapon is Smoke Jensen.
Nice.
So like, let's go. He clangs them together. He go, get her done, Clang.
I love it. And you said so he's a half elf. So I'm picturing it as a half elf with probably much darker skin than what we normally imagine, right?
But lighter than a drow.
Right.
Lighter
Yeah,
than drow,
it's not
yes.
the black charcoal
No.
grays of like the Underdark.
Right.
Got it. So I mean, really traditional kind of African American skin tone is what we're talking.
With blue eyes.
Fantastic. How tall is he? Like, what if we met him in person? What does he come off as?
He stands 6'9".
Yeah. There's no way this guy's wandering around Ravenloft and not making names for himself, right?
Precisely.
I love it. Does he have any, like, is there any proficiencies or any, like...
He is proficient at negotiation,
right?
at diplomacy. He's really good at music. He loves music.
Fantastic.
So he is a musician. He plays the lyre. So he has a small lyre that he keeps with him.
Awesome.
I always like to think of it as like a little, like a mandolin or a banjo. Ding, 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 ding,
right.
ding, ding, ding. And he'll put it in his bag. He's like, I feel better now. You won't die. What was that song? It was called I'm Not Gonna Kill You Today.
You get a pass.
Pretty much.
I love it. So coming out of Ravenloft, I'm sure that I could kind of see this being a like local hero type that a party runs into, or with the kind of I think he would have the ability to present at court.
Yeah, I think he would.
He's
He's pretty. For the lack of a better word, he's pretty adaptable.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like. Like it could be the party either comes into the town and sees him in the middle, just like laying waste to something that shouldn't be there, or he becomes I'll speak for you. That's fine.
Yeah,
we need a group of adventurers because the town hasn't burned completely down. What are you guys up to? I can see it going either way, really.
You want a hero? We'll have to see about that. Do you have food?
I mean,
yeah. Do you picture him more as being part of a community or more like on the outskirts of like multiple communities?
Outskirts.
Okay. Yeah, that's I picture it with the way you describe like the inspirations for him. Not quite as that old man up on the hill that never comes down, but definitely the more like overwatching hermit type.
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
The one that protects the fringes of, the civilized area kind of thing.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah, 100%. I could picture the party either, stumbling into something over their head, which happens to every party, and then having this character be there to bail them out, or hearing about this character's exploits, like towns away from where they would ever meet him. And, he is just known as, that person. Whenever the town is in trouble, he's just there.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows where he lives. Nobody knows what he does. Maybe the ladies of the town like leave out food and stuff, and it just disappears as he comes by.
It's like a Santa Claus of the realms.
Yeah,
right?
100%. The stories that are told of the sound of his warhammers clanging together, it sounds as pure as silver, all those kind of things that the party picks up as they're just kind of, working through the countryside doing adventurous things, until one day they run into this person. The stories all say that he's 8 feet tall, as as big as a stone giant, stuff like that. And then they come across this figure. By the time they meet him, he's larger than life. And they come across this older person that at first sight may not look as intimidating as all the stories, but the first battle they see him in,
they see him just...
Yeah, they 100% see that everything is true and hasn't been exaggerated.
I like that. Wow, different settings. Forgotten Realms would be easy to put him in.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Realms would be easy.
My dream would be for him to meet Drizzt in his journeys.
I think that would be an interesting conversation.
Because I feel like they share a lot of the same space.
Indeed.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
And a lot of the same experiences, because being a dark-skinned half-elf and him being a drow, they would definitely be able to understand the being outcast and
right.
the prejudices that go along with
being the outside of society.
You don't look like me, so I shouldn't regard you as anything more than I'm half-elf, I'll bust you in your face.
Right.
Yeah.
Eberron?
Ooh.
I think there's potential there, maybe with a little bit of tweaking, because of the way the god situation is in Eberron. Yeah. But I mean, I think in almost every setting, there's always room for that fringe character, the one that is on the edges of the wilderness of society, the one who protects like the civilized part of the world from the things that are less so.
Right. Like I could definitely see him like up north, like around the Moorholds. Kind of like, but on the surface.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or definitely in Sharn, because everybody fits into Sharn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of picture him. I think he would be a good fit for Drome, too.
I was going to say.
Where we were, the campaign that he just started with us, where it's all the nations of like the monster races have created their own like nation now.
Oh wow! Wow.
Yeah, it was 3 hags started a nation and like called everybody in, and the towns are ogres, goblins, Medusa, kobolds. Like it's yeah, it's a really. I would think maybe on that border right there with Breland and Drome.
Yeah, I picture him being like originally he would be there as a precaution to like make sure they're not up to something,
right?
Because I mean in Eberron you don't have the like goblins are evil because they're goblins. It's more actions that matter,
like a paragon of sorts.
Yeah, and I could see his storyline starting with him being there, like making sure that they're not planning to attack the other nations, and at the same time discovering that they're not so much different from the prejudices and things that he's had to face.
Yeah.
I think that would make a wonderful story in how like kind of easing people into those relationships, those negotiations between the different groups of people.
I could definitely see that. I definitely see that. I like it. I love the character. I like the background. I love the idea of somebody that can make things better, either by negotiation or by force if necessary. Mm-hmm. Like that's fantastic. So, hey guys, J.E. McAllister, your paladin at large. If you need somebody to brighten up a campaign or to help talk the group into a subtle negotiation, this may be your guy.
Thanks everyone for sticking around and listening to our show.
If you enjoyed it, let me ask you a favor. Follow us and leave us a like wherever you get your podcast. It really helps us out.
And if you have anything to say back to us, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for The Dapper Meeple. On Twitter, our handle is @TheDapperMeeple, or email us at dappermeeplegaming@gmail.com.
And as always, we'll save you a seat at the table.